Petuwashte, Chante Washte Nape Chuzapi, Gini Havanamachiabi, Isanteoyate Matansto. Good afternoon. I greet you all with a good heart and I extend a handshake. I'm Jeannie Hovland. I'm a member of the Flandreau Santee Sioux Tribe, and I serve as a vice chair at the National Indian Gaming Commission. I want to say thank you for joining us for the NIGC Missing and Murdered Indigenous Peoples Month special emphasis titled How Tribal Gaming Contributes to the Protection of Indigenous Communities. I also want to mention a big thank you to the Honorable Secretary Holland for reappointing me to another commission term at the NIGC. I'm truly honored, and I look forward to continuing to work with the NIGC team, with all of you joining us today, and with our tribes. I want to introduce my colleague and newest member of the commission, NIGC Acting Chair Sharon Avery. I've had the honor to work with Chairwoman Avery since I came to the NIGC over 3 years ago. And then she served as Associate General Counsel and did fantastic work at the agency with the tribes. And I know she will continue her great work on the commission. Welcome, Chairwoman Avery.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that warm introduction. My name is Sharon Avery, and I come from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan. And I would like to also extend a warm thank you to Secretary Holland for appointing myself to the commission, and another thank you to the president for appointing me as acting chair. Today, I would like to thank everyone for joining us and our guest speakers and honoring today, May as Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Month. My term as Associate Commissioner began last week, and my term as Acting Chair began yesterday. I would like to preface today's conversation by saying that while I am familiar with the topic of MMIP, co-hosting a panel of this magnitude is very much new for me. And please understand that I am also here to listen and learn as well. Earlier this month, President Biden issued a proclamation on missing and murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness, where he proclaimed May 5th as Missing or Murdered Indigenous Persons Awareness Day. In that proclamation, he outlined steps that the administration has taken to bring awareness to the issue and combat it in hopes of ending the epidemic. He also stated, "Today we mourn with the families who have lost a piece of their soul to this crisis, and we honor the Indigenous activists and advocates who have summoned the courage to shine light on the tragedy. We are grateful for the leadership and support of the administration and for acknowledging and providing resources to help this crisis." The NIGC also remains committed to supporting the safety and success of the tribal gaming industry and their communities through important trainings and preparedness that include combating human trafficking and missing and murdered Indigenous persons. Over the last several years, we have worked with tribes, tribal gaming regulators and commissions, and our federal partners at the Department of Interior's Bureau of Indian Affairs, Office of Justice Services, and the BIA Missing and Murdered Unit, and the Department of Homeland Security Investigations Unit, and the Blue Campaign to provide culturally infused, survivor, and tribally informed resources, which can be found at our website, NIGC.gov. We have much to discuss in the next hour. I want to thank our guest speakers for being part of our discussion today. And Vice Chair, I turn back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Avery. I also want to acknowledge that yesterday was Peace Officers Day, and this week is Police Week. Many of the law enforcement and first responders in tribal communities are members of the tribe they work in. Human trafficking and our people who go missing or are murdered impacts our law enforcement and first responders both personally and professionally, as it may be their family member, community member, or friend who goes missing or is murdered. So please remember to thank them for their work, dedication, and the sacrifices they and their families make to help keep our communities safe. As Native people, we know that the crisis of our missing or murdered Indigenous relatives has existed for decades. But not until the last few years has a nation as a whole started to become aware. Thank you to the tribal leaders, community members, and the families who have a missing or murdered loved one who never stop advocating for adequate resources to help prevent our people from going missing or being murdered, and to advocate for resources to help search for our missing loved ones. As the chair stated, NIGC remains committed to holding up the priorities of the tribes and providing a platform for their voices to be heard. This year, the NIGC wants to highlight how the tribal gaming industry continues to play a key role in the protection of tribal people and their communities. One is through employment opportunities. With tribal gaming often being the main employer in their community, their local workforce is primarily their people. The gaming industry provides a variety of jobs and careers right in their community and contributes to the economic growth and prosperity of their community peoples. Gaming revenues. Some tribes invest their gaming revenues in programs vital to supporting a safe and healthy community. Programs such as law enforcement and first responders, substance use and mental health services, housing for their homeless and unsheltered citizens, domestic violence shelters, child welfare programs, including runaway youth and children in the foster care system, to name a few. Some tribes, as you will hear today, have also used their gaming revenues to create community-driven task forces on human trafficking or missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. And culture. Many tribes use gaming revenues to revitalize their native languages or provide cultural activities that are intergenerational, creating positive relationship building and interactions. Culture is so important to serve as a protective, healing, and prevention factor. In addition to providing local employment opportunities and supporting community and cultural programs, many tribal gaming enterprises have very advanced technology that assists in both deterring, detecting, and also tracking criminal activities in their facilities. Some tribes have been asked to assist with investigating and documenting criminal activities in the tribal and surrounding communities because their gaming enterprise has the most advanced technology in the area. Bottom line, tribes work very hard to ensure their community, workforce, and patrons are safe. Today, you will hear from the Honorable Governor Reggie Wasani and Lorenda Morgan of the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma, and from Treasurer Leticia Prieto and Raven Cassis from the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. Our guest speakers will share what their tribal nations are doing to protect their people and communities, and how tribal advocacy on missing and murdered Indigenous persons has led to important legislation across their states in Oklahoma and California. A little bit about our speakers. Governor Reggie Wasani was sworn in as the tribal chairman of the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma in January of 2021. With a commitment to tribal sovereignty and community development, Governor Wasani works tirelessly to advocate for the interests and well-being of tribal members. Through his leadership, he strives to promote economic growth, cultural preservation, and social empowerment within the Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation. Lorenda Morgan serves as the Governmental Affairs Advisor for the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes. Lorenda is a respected leader within the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes, dedicated to advancing tribal initiatives and fostering community development. As a prominent figure, Morgan champions causes to MMIP, education, healthcare, and cultural preservation. With a deep commitment to tribal sovereignty and advocacy, Morgan's efforts contribute to the empowerment and prosperity of the Cheyenne and Arapaho Nation. Leticia Prieto serves as the treasurer of the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians, a position she holds with dedication and commitment. With a background in finance and tribal governance, Treasurer Prieto plays a crucial role in managing the financial affairs of the tribe and ensuring its long-term economic stability. She is known for strategic vision, financial acumen, and advocacy for tribal sovereignty, and working tirelessly to advance the interests of the San Manuel community. And Raven Cassis is a devoted advocate for murdered and missing Indigenous persons within the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians community. She's committed to raising awareness and seeking justice for Indigenous individuals who have gone missing or are victims of violence. Raven strives to bring attention to the epidemic of missing and murdered Indigenous persons and advocate for systemic changes to address root causes of this crisis. And by the way, Raven is Letitia's daughter. So we have a very dynamic duo from the San Manuel Nation with us today, and we are honored to have all of our guest speakers. And we have a lot to get through, so we're going to go ahead and get into our questions. Governor Wasani, thank you for joining us today. Can you tell us a little bit about the Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes of Oklahoma and your gaming operations?
Yes, thank you, Jeannie, and thank you for all those nice words, and welcome to everybody who's listening in right now. Yes, we have about 15,500 tribal members. We're located in the western part of Oklahoma. We cover about 13 counties. Our IHS covers 18 counties, so we have a vast area that we do cover. We have about 6 facilities, 6 gaming operations. We are actually in the stages of building a travel center along I-40, which is about 15 minutes from our headquarters along the main thoroughfare. So we'll have a small gaming operation there. We'll have a restaurant, and we'll have a convenience store, and of course we'll sell gas out of there. So it'll be a comprehensive travel center. So we that'll be our 7th one. It does offer a lot of employment. It offers revenue to keep a lot of our tribal services going, and to help some of those people who really need that assistance, as far as the elderly and the students that need help with their school or tuition and things like that. So we have about 1,000 gaming employees. We have about 650 tribal administration employees. So we probably got about 1,650 employees. And probably in the next year or so, we may grow another 50 or 100 as we open that operation. And we have a few more operations that we're planning as well that we haven't begun to build, but the travel center is underway, and it should be done in October. So we've been pretty aggressive, and we've tried to make the tribe as relevant physically and on the HR side as we could. And we've done quite a lot, and we've done a lot to help our elders and all those problems that arise, whether it's alcoholism, the MMIP, unemployment, just our socioeconomic distressed areas. We try to lift and offer services. We did create 2 food pantries as well. So we have about 1,000 head of buffalo. We got about 500 head of cattle. So we always kind of looked at our food sovereignty as part of our key resources that we will always be able to feed our people during any epidemic or any crisis. So we are prepared for any of that. And like I've always said, if we had to go back to the old way and put a buffalo down or a cow down and butcher right there in the field, we're more than capable of doing it. And we have about 22,000 acres roughly. Our main headquarters sits on about 4,000 acres. We've just bought 7,600 acres contiguously in western Oklahoma. So we do have large plots of land between 2,000 and 3,000 and about 4 locations. So we do have quite a bit of land that we can help and assist our tribal members, whether it's a leisure or it becomes a crisis. So that's really good for us. And we're always trying to buy more land, of course, and increase our area. And like I've always said, we're going to buy back our land 1 acre at a time, and we're trying to do that. And we're just being really progressive, and hopefully we move up into Colorado, where our traditional homelands are, and get established up there as well. But thank you.
Thank you so much. And being from the state of South Dakota, I've had the opportunity also to visit your tribal lands, and I would consider Cheyenne and Arapaho more on the rural side. Would you agree with that?
Yes, very much. Probably our biggest town is the one that's near our headquarters, and that's about 15,000. The balance of those west of that area is probably between 10 to 12,000 people, like 2 or 3 areas, and the rest are probably less than 2,000 to 3,000 people per town. And there's only maybe 6 to 8 of those rural areas. So we are pretty rural.
Yeah, thank you. And it is a beautiful, beautiful nation that you're in. I've been honored to be there in your tribal nation, see your buffalo herd. And so I just wanted to clarify. It did remind me of the ruralness that I see in South Dakota and the beauty of the ruralness also. So thank you for sharing. And I want to go to Treasurer Prieto. Can you tell us a little bit about the San Manuel and the gaming operations there?
Sure. Coming touch Puyihan, Juan Leticia Prieto, Ami Ivi Nupulin Archout Raven Casas, Nun Marit Yam Yahavietam, Nun Tuvipiag Kika. Good morning, everybody. My name is Leticia Prieto. This is my daughter, Raven Casas. We're happy to be here today. We are the Yahavietam clan, people of the Pines and the Marit Yam Serrano people of San Manuel. Our indigenous areas of the San Bernardino Mountains in California and high desert regions, Southern California. Our ancestral territory once spanned approximately 7.4 million acres, but we now have about 1,000 out of that ancestral area. We have about 319 citizens. Our namesake, San Manuel Santos Manuel, who is my great-great-grandfather, he led us from the Big Bear Mountain area, unfortunately, during the massacres that occurred in 1866 by government-sponsored militias, and we only had 30 survivors at that time when we landed in our area that we're currently in today. Our mission as a tribe is to promote and protect culture, land sustainability, tribal government throughout, and advance our tribal community. Our tribal government works to provide better quality of life for our citizens by building infrastructure, maintaining civil services, and promoting social and economic and cultural development. San Manuel operates Yamava Resort and Casino, which was formerly known as San Manuel Casino, as well as other enterprises in supporting neighboring communities, and is one of the largest employers with a little over 7,000 employees. And we're one of the largest philanthropists, it's so hard to say, philanthropists in the Inland Empire. We also have San Manuel Gaming and Hospitality Authority, which is an instrumentality of the tribe, which owns and operates the Palms Casino in Las Vegas. And I've been honored with the ability to serve as the chairperson for the San Manuel Gaming and Hospitality Authority, as well as my duties as treasurer of the tribe.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I also had the honor to travel to your nation when I first came onto the commission. And when I was coming into the city, I saw what I've never seen before, a billboard with missing and murdered Indigenous persons. And we had to stop. I took pictures. We weren't driving. I didn't take pictures while driving. Stopped, took pictures, met with your council, and I was like, wow, this is fantastic. And I do believe there have been more billboards in other states, but that was the first time that I had seen that. So I just commend the San Manuel tribe for really educating and bringing awareness, not only what we've always known, but across the greater America. Which brings me to the next question, which is, do you feel that the nation has a better understanding of, first of all, that it exists, that there's a crisis of our missing and murdered Indigenous persons? Do you feel the nation is starting to become aware of that? And if so, why do you think that is? Governor Wasani?
Thank you, Jeannie. It has become aware, the nation, the local communities, the law enforcement agencies. I believe, as Indian people, we always felt when somebody left or they went somewhere, we kind of just figured that a lot of people were traveling and going to other places to visit or to get a change of scenery, because a lot of our areas were rural. We didn't have any jobs. So when somebody left, you didn't think anything about it. But when you didn't hear from them, or you knew of somebody who should be in a certain place and they weren't, there was nobody to turn to. There was no law enforcement agency. There was the BIA at that time. Those early years weren't so wouldn't recognize that the fact that some people were actually gone and missing and probably murdered. So as this MMIW, which turned into MMIP, came about, we did a lot of lobbying. We did a lot of I don't want to say protesting, but we did have a lot of rallies and things like that, and we were able to get some laws passed. The Interior now has programs for MMIP. The President of the United States recognizes MMIP, so we've made that turn. We have some laws adopted now. We actually have people on the ground that will take those cases, even those cold cases, and review them again. They'll investigate them, and that's really a major turn for all tribes across the country, because every tribe has somebody that's missing or has been murdered. So I believe that with all the efforts that everybody has put in across the country, and even our own through Lorinda, we got a state law passed. The governor of Oklahoma, who we feel isn't our best ally, even signed that legislation into law. So that was really good, and we did change things, and we have made aware that people are missing, and they may not actually exist anymore. So we have, with all the advocacy that we've done, with everybody that we reached out to, as far as the President of the United States to the local law enforcement, people now are recognizing it. They're acknowledging the fact that Indian people, Native Americans are disappearing and they're being murdered. So that's always been the best efforts that we put forth over the past 3 to 4 years is get those things out there in the public. So that's really good, and we've really educated, and people have acknowledged those efforts that we've done. So that's really been healthy for all the tribes across the country.
Well, thank you, Governor Wasini. I know you have been a strong advocate. I've known you working and being a voice, and I'm glad to hear that you also feel that the nation as a whole is starting to understand this also, and also from the White House through the halls of Congress through the agencies. So thank you for your work in advocacy, and Lorenda's also, and your tribal nation as a whole. Treasurer, did you or Raven want to add your thoughts on that? Is more awareness?
I want to say that awareness is definitely gaining a lot of traction throughout the nation. There's a lot of native, non-native publications that feature articles about MMIP and all the work for that. And the movement is definitely alive on social media as well. I was inspired when I went to Florida for a unity trip, which was a youth conference for all Native youth, when I was 12 years old. And I learned about MMIP there, and I knew that I needed to do something with my tribe. So from there, I started taking lots of notes down on like little napkins, different facts so that I can educate myself on MMIP, because I've never heard of it before. And then I took it back to my tribe and tried making a difference within my tribe. And now I feel like I've made a difference, a little difference.
So thank you for that. I mean, it doesn't get any more grassroots driven than that. And I really want to commend all of our grassroots peoples in the communities, in the surrounding communities that have really brought this to the light, as far as this is an issue, as Raven just talked about. And that leads us into the slide that we had up a moment ago about some of the activities that Raven and San Manuel have been doing, and one was an article. Can you share with us a little bit more about the work of San Manuel and the youth advocacy on missing and murdered Indigenous persons?
Yeah, our youth advocacy group is leading most of it. Just 2 weeks ago, our advocacy group hosted a 5K walk in San Bernardino at CSUSB, Cal State San Bernardino. And we raised awareness and funds for the Okomi forensics team. And we work with teams in tribal government to create content and messaging to help others understand the urgency of MMIP and why the work we do is so urgent. We find different ways to bring people together to support the cause, and 5Ks are very popular, and it's just a better light to give to MMIP cause. The tribe works with 10 Native-led organizations that raise awareness and help support families that are affected by MMIP. They also support active advocates and provide different resources for people that have been affected by MMIP. This includes housing, field searches, data collection, different studies, and so much more. For example, Strong-Hearted Native Women's Coalition was one of the first organizations that I've worked with and supported. They're a local charity that works with Native communities in California. We use our resources and influence to keep MMIP at the top of everyone's minds. Our Haminat magazine has featured revealing articles about the pain and generational effect of MMIP. Haminat is distributed to guests and team members on our properties, as well as to border audiences through our partners into legislations.
Well, that is fantastic. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to add on that our tribal council has worked alongside the youth advocacy group and allowed the opportunity that during, like, we have team member events that they're able to work with the team members, promote, help educate, get further information out. They've designed t-shirts like what we're wearing today that they hand out to the team members there on property when we have team member events, and they get very engaged. They're excited to go and talk and learn about this, and then go out into the community and help educate on their behalf as well. So it's really created this pathway of ambassadorship, and the team members are very, very receptive to it, and we've been really grateful for that. Additionally, Salmonwell has also provided $830,000 in funding to Native-led organizations to help address this crisis. And I'm going to read this one, as I know Raven actually named this study with the Sovereign Bodies Institute, published I'm going to mess it up, Takdam Muyumuk, Hidden Bodies, MMIWG2 and MMIP of the Central and Southern California report in 2022. And this initiative was inspired by the youth advocacy group at Salmonwell.
That's just fantastic. And for those of you joining us today, we do have these resources for you to view at your convenience. They are in the comment section. We had pulled up that article and photo. Thank you for the difference that you're making. Was there a large attendance of Native peoples and non-Native peoples at your walk?
Yes, I believe we had if not 250 participants.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
Well,
this was the second year, and they doubled since last year.
Yeah. Honestly, probably tripled. I believe last year, I think we had 75 participants.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Congratulations, and thank you for what you're doing. We're going to go ahead and pull up some information that Lorenda from the Cheyenne and Arapaho is going to talk to us about the IDA's law. And Governor Wasserman had shared a little bit about this important legislation. And Governor Wasserman, of course, you're always welcome to join anytime, but can you tell us a little bit more about IDA's law, how it came about, and how it will be helpful?
Yes, IDA's law is named after Ida Beard, who is our Cheyenne Arapaho tribal member. She is also my first cousin. Our mothers are sisters. So Ida went missing in 2015 from El Reno, Oklahoma, which is probably about 6 to 7 miles right outside our tribal headquarters. But she did go missing in the city of El Reno. So with her case, there was a lack of investigation, and we as a family had been trying to get her case investigated, And in 2019, I had a conversation with one of the Oklahoma House representatives, Representative Mickey Dollins out of Oklahoma City, House District 93, which is also my district that I live in. And he was interested in working to do something legislatively to address the issue, not only, in regards to Ida's case, but all the cases in Oklahoma that are like hers, that have lacked attention and investigation. So we worked and came up with Ida's law, which ran in the first year it ran was in 2020, the Oklahoma legislative session. And of course, due to COVID, I didn't make it through the process. So it was reran in 2021. We had a lot of support through both sides of the legislature and the House and Senate. So we were able to get that passed in 2021. And that law creates an Office of Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Liaison within the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, which is the state investigative entity for Oklahoma. So with that, that was a big deal for the tribes and for Oklahoma to have that office placed within our OSBI. So that law went into effect November 1st of 2021, and we now have Agent Joshua Petskowski with the OSBI, who's dedicated to work in this position to address all of these issues with training law enforcement, working to collect data, investigating cold cases, being a liaison for the tribes and the families with law enforcement. And currently, the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes are working with Agent Petskowski and another law enforcement agency to bring some training to Indian country that will be coming up in August here in Oklahoma. So that's how we got Ida's law.
Well, our hearts go out to you and to all of Ida's family and community, and pray that she is found safe and soon. We are grateful that Oklahoma has a law to help assist with our people, whether they're in our communities or not. And it's important, as we know, with the jurisdictions, depending on the state, depending on the tribe, to have the federal level legislation to assist, but also state. And I'm glad that we see that happening. And in fact, I think San Manuel can share about what's happening in the state of California and some of the activities. Do you want to share that with us, Treasurer Prieto?
Yes. So California is absolutely improving the way that agencies cooperate in searching for missing and murdered Indigenous people. They've successfully created what they call the Feather Alert, which is a key initiative that helps to bring immediate attention to report of a missing Indigenous person. The Feather Alert helps to make information of missing persons immediately available to the public. It increases awareness among the public and aids in a quick recovery. We actually had this activated over the past week and a half of somebody that was missing, and they were able to successfully locate them and return them home. So that just happened over the course of the last week and a half.
We are also very grateful that Assemblyman Ramos, who is a member of the Seminole tribe, helping support passage for the Feather Alert legislation. We testified in Sacramento to help make this legislation happen. And we are happy to speak with our elected leaders and appreciate that they listened and took action for MMIP. Recently, prosecution took place, like we said, to a man that was found in California. The perpetrator actually received a 29-year sentence. And this is just a great success for the Feather Alert. It definitely makes my heart happy knowing that I was able to participate in this legislation passing, and now it's really helping our community.
That is, I mean, a testament to how important these laws, these initiatives are. And I remember reading about the Feather Alert and just how historic that was. And I imagine you've had other tribes reach out from other states asking, you know, can you help us? And I'm sure with Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes also with the great work that they're doing. So it's great to see that it is an initiative, not just in our tribal communities. We've been trying to say this is not just a Native American issue. This is something that everybody should be informed about, something that, you know, everybody should be advocating for all tribes to have, or all communities to have resources needed so that they can feel safe and protected and have adequate response and search and rescue. So thank you for sharing that. And is the Strong Hearts, is that specific to San Manuel? Is it across the nation? Who has access to that resource?
All of California.
All of
The
California.
Hearted Native women's, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Yeah, no, that's not San Manuel specific.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. Lorinda, I know, you know, you and I have talked, and I met with Governor Wasana and the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Persons Task Force that was created, I believe, through, well, grassroots driven, but through tribal gaming revenues. If that's, can you tell us more about what the task force is and what you're doing?
Okay, yes. So the Cheyenne Arapaho MMIP chapter was established in 2022. The tribe helped pass and lead the way for Ida's Law and got that done in 2021. So in 2022, we realized that our tribal jurisdiction, which is a large area in Northwest Oklahoma, didn't have any representation as far as missing and murdered Indigenous peoples, kind of like a task force or an advocacy group. Oklahoma has a state MMIP chapter coalition, which is made up of approximately about 11 different tribal or group advocacy chapters. And we also include a chapter from Texas, and we have 2 MMIP chapters from Wichita and Lawrence, Kansas that are in our coalition. So Oklahoma didn't have any representation from Cheyenne Arapaho country. So we established our MMIP chapter to help address many of these things. And our chapter is, while there are task force and boots on the ground and different types of MMIP groups, our group is mainly an advocacy, education, and an awareness MMIP chapter. We help educate our tribal community on factors leading up to MMIP, such as domestic violence, mental health, behavioral health issues, drug and alcohol abuse. We educate them on ways to live a more healthy lifestyle and to address some of these root causes of MMIP. We also educate our community on what to do should their family member go missing. We give them resources about the different agencies to contact, such as Department of Justice here within the Western District of Oklahoma, the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, the Bureau of Indian Affairs now has a missing and murdered unit. And so we make sure that our tribal members are educated about the contact numbers, ways to report. We assist them when their family member goes missing to do a missing persons flyer and to get the information disseminated within the tribal communities and outside of the tribal communities. And we also help connect families with the appropriate authorities to assist them in whatever contacts that they need. As far as that's our education component. Advocacy, of course, the tribe, we have done advocacy for Ida's Law. We also, similarly to California, we have a Casey's alert that was passed. Ours started out as MMIP legislation, but it was tweaked because the Oklahoma legislators thought it would be a good idea for every person to be reported missing between the ages of 18 and 59. So now we have a missing persons alert for all persons, not only Indigenous people, and that is called a Casey's alert, and that was named after a Cherokee Nation individual that had went missing. So as far as it's our education, advocacy, and our awareness, we provide awareness events, just like the tribe just finished having an MMIP memorial, like a remembrance parade and an event in our tribal nations. We allow families to come and we provide a program for them. We have speakers, there's an art contest, and we just give them a time to remember and to kind of talk about their family members that have been missing and murdered. And it also brings awareness to the community. We also participate in the State Coalition Awareness MMIP Day in Oklahoma at the Oklahoma State Capitol. So in the past, I will say, not this year, but 4 years prior, Cheyenne Arapahoes have sponsored as far as like the lunch, and been Governor Wasney has come out and spoke and represented our tribe, and he has been a big voice in Oklahoma for MMIP, as well as on the federal level. When we have any type of tribal leader consultations, calls, he's been a big voice for us here in Oklahoma. And as far as like the way our advocacy group is funded is we don't have any type of grants. We have been fortunate to have our casino, Lucky Star Casino, to support us in any type of events that we have, as far as if we have community events, domestic violence awareness, or anything like that. The casino will provide the lunches, or they'll provide any type of financial support that we may need for, t-shirts to hand out, or just anything that we may need. They've been very supportive, as well as Governor Wasney out of his office, the executive office of the governor, so at the tribe.
Well, I see all the activities and work that's taking place across Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes there in Oklahoma. And, you touched on very important services needed. One is the awareness. And it's easy in federal agencies to work in silos, but that can also happen in communities. So we've, as NIGC comes in to provide training on human trafficking preparedness, we're always encouraging, bring in all the local stakeholders that would be responding to providing services to victims, and make sure that they are part of it. And it sounds like that's what the task force is doing, and that's fantastic.
Yes, and as you may know, that we are in the process of planning a human trafficking training for, I believe it's for September. The dates will be finalized, and we're working on getting that established to provide that for tribes and tribal communities, law enforcement, advocates, or anyone who has an interest in that. So the tribe will be sponsoring that as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. We just talked a little bit about how tribal gaming has positively impacted the safety of our communities. I didn't know if any of our panelists had more to bring to the discussion, specifics of how that's impacting your community programs, the safety of your communities. If anybody had any other comments on that.
I could just add that, gaming has been a real blessing for us in being able to be one of the largest philanthropists in the area. We've donated nearly $400 million to charitable organizations in our area. And this has helped both from philanthropy, economic sustainability, tribal self-sufficiency. We look to uplift our neighboring communities and provide resources to help fund organizations like the Okami Forensics, who provide investigative resources to find missing and Indigenous people. And we're not planning to stop at the 830,000 that I had mentioned earlier that we donated to different causes. Our team is continuously building relationships with agencies and organizations that provide resources and services to address human trafficking, MMIP, and other critical threats to our people.
Well, thank you for the positive impact that's taking place and what you're doing to not only to your community, but some of the other communities that are supporting, that you're, providing some charitable contributions to. You're being what we would call very good relatives. And I didn't mean to interrupt if you had anything else to share. Okay. And I know we definitely want to have time to get to question and answer. A few more questions. Is there more? You've shared a lot. There's a lot of great work taking place. And we wanted to provide from the perspective of Cheyenne and Arapaho who's more in a rural setting versus San Manuel, who is in a very urban populated center. No matter the demographics, no matter if it's smaller gaming or larger gaming, this is an issue that affects all of our Native peoples, no matter the size of the demographics or whether you live on your tribal lands or not. And the voices that are being carried through tribal gaming, through tribal leadership to help protect our people and bring them home safely. But is there more that you feel the tribes and our nation as a whole can do? Governor, do you want to?
Yes, thank you, Jeannie. There is a lot more. As traditional people, I believe that we have to go into prevention. Sometimes these acts against our women, against our tribal members, are from our own. And I believe that growing up, our grandparents were our main person who took care of us and raised us and taught us good from bad. And you always respected your grandparents. Unfortunately, today that is changing. And I think the breakdown is our cultural awareness or our education into the culture and ceremonies that all the tribes have, that some of the youth don't learn and understand that. We're in this day of technology where the kids all have phones and they don't really pay much attention to the parents, the grandparents anymore. The kids are subject to disobeying the grandparents. When we were growing up, we didn't disobey our grandparents. We listened to them like their word was gold, and we did anything they wanted to. Today, it's not like that. So I believe prevention, the education of who we are, where we came from, because realistically, there's a lot of people who suffered for us to be here. And I don't believe that the younger generation understands that a lot of people died, cried, and bled so that we all could sit on these screens today and say how lucky we are and how we're going to prevent any more events that may occur with the MMIP. But we as adults have to realize that it's up to us, it's up to the tribes, it's up to our those people that we support us, and that we engage with our youth and we tell them it's not okay to hurt anyone, it's not okay to destroy anyone. And the Cheyenne people, we have traditional law that says if you kill another Cheyenne, you're banished from the tribe. And I don't even know if that is taught anymore. So just our culture in general, we need to get back to who we are and what we do, and some of our traditional laws and our traditional behaviors, because that's where the breakdown begins. That's why we're sitting here talking about MMIP, because we have a breakdown in the learning system and the educating of our youth. And we really seriously need to get back to that and teaching our language and culture so people can have pride in their heritage and pride in who they are and respect each other once again. So that's kind of where I see the underlying issue is, outside of somebody who isn't tribal or Indian, that we all make mistakes in what we do in life, but we should know better in the end.
Thank you. And we talked about how culture is so important: prevention, intervention, healing, knowing our value, who we are as Indigenous people and as human beings, and that it's not okay to let somebody mistreat us, take advantage of us also. And also thankful for, like, in the reauthorization of the Violence Against Women Act, there are some prosecution granted to tribes now for non-native offenders on our lands under certain circumstances. We're seeing that specific to human trafficking, stalking, child abuse crimes, domestic violence, and a few others. So definitely getting that education out there. And then you talked about connecting with the youth, which is why we just commend Raven and the San Manuel tribe, and that their efforts have been grassroots, not only grassroots, but youth driven. And that is exactly who we need to hear from and get a lot of our direction from, because they're the next generation. So, Raven, did you have anything, or Treasurer Prieto?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I definitely agree with both of you that it definitely begins with the youth. I'm lucky that I learned it early on, I guess, that I'm the future of my tribe, and you know, I'm born to be a leader, and I followed after my mom, of course. And I think that the tragic reality of MIGC and just violence is that younger generations need to be educated, and they need to take initiative and be aware of what's going on in their community and just tribal nation in general.
Thank you. And do you feel like, Raven, that the youth are becoming more aware and wanting to be more involved? Do you think it's just maybe sometimes not realizing that there's a way that they can be involved and be ambassadors for their nation?
I believe so, yes. I think it's difficult because the topic isn't necessarily the easiest to want to learn about. Definitely not easy to hear either. That's all I can say.
And what we've discovered as a tribe, again, you know, Raven brought this with her cousins to our attention when they were only 12 years old. So we handled it very delicately, of working to encourage them to use their voices, but also being mindful of how we were providing information to them, and being delicate about the situation. But of course, you know, with the leadership that's just built into our youth, and they just wanted to dig in and just, you know, give it to us straight, because we want to be able to go out there and be real advocates and be able to educate, and we're not going to be able to educate unless we know the facts. So when it got to that point, we you know, we absolutely supported them and provided as much guidance as we possibly can, and we're continuing to do that. We're in the process right now of trying to restructure so that the advocacy group is not only made up of youth, but is open to our adult population as well, and structuring it under our tribal council so that we have some cultural support to help them both from a governance standpoint to be able to make further impacts and outreach to within our adult community, and provide the youth that participate with mentorship and leadership as well.
It's fantastic. I strongly believe in the saying, if about me, not without me. And so if we're talking about our youth being the next generation, they need to be at the table during the discussions, and it sounds like you're doing that there. And thank you. We do have questions. Again, for those joining us today, if you put a question in the comments, can you bring that over to the Q&A, because we have a lot of comments. And thank you to all the tribes that introduced yourself in the comment section. And we're so glad you're here with us. We want to go ahead and move to the question and answer portion. And at any time, if you have, or any of our panelists have, guest speakers have anything to add to it, please, you know, just let us go back and forth. The first is from Dawn Schroyer, and she says, "Good day. As a community member in Arizona and having worked closely with tribes for many years, how can I help educate local nonprofits to use NIGC resources and the daunting facts of missing murdered Indigenous persons?" So that is a really good question. I would say, okay, in Arizona, we can get you in touch with our region director, who does a fantastic job there. And when we have, if there are meetings that we can join virtually, in Arizona that include the nonprofits. We're always happy to share, what our resources are. We do have a very robust pamphlet for combating human trafficking. And as we know, there's definitely a tie between human trafficking and missing and murdered Indigenous persons. So on that pamphlet that is on our website, you'll be able to see a lot of resources that are helpful for both our victims of human trafficking and our missing and murdered persons. So anything that we can do, invite them to go to our social media, follow us, sign up for our listserv. We'll do what we can to try to get our resources out and work with you on that. I didn't know if anybody else has anything else to add to that question. All right, thank you. Thank you, Don. Martha Noon Toma. Does anyone know how many missing and murdered Indigenous persons there were before 2016? Do tribes keep that data and share it with other tribes? Governor or Treasurer, I don't know if you want to, Miranda, feel free.
Our tribe is working on collecting that data for the Cheyenne Arapaho tribes. I know the state of Oklahoma, that's one reason why we enacted Ida's law, was to try and collect the data on the numbers in Oklahoma, because when we were running the legislation, it was part of my assignment from the senator to collect the number of MMIP in Oklahoma, specifically his district as well. When I worked with the OSBI to collect their numbers, they said they received their numbers from the FBI. And when we were looking at FBI numbers, the way they broke down some of their data on different categories, such as like murders or homicides, all of these different data categories, American Indians or Native Americans, Indigenous people did not have their own category. So there were the four main races, which were Caucasian, African American, Hispanic, Latino, and then Asian. And then we were put into a category of other, which includes all other Pacific Islanders. So we were lumped into another category, which didn't specify how many, missing and murdered Indigenous people there were. So that was something that was realized when we were doing research for the legislation of Ida's law. So then the OSBI realized that they have the number of missing persons in Oklahoma, but they also didn't have an accurate number of Indigenous or American Indian people, because not all of the tribal or Indigenous cases were entered into their database or entered into NAMUS, which is a national missing persons database. So, and when we ran Ida's law in 2019, 2020, I think Ida and there was one other male Cheyenne Arapaho that was in NAMUS, knowing that we have now triple that number, quadruple that number of Cheyenne Arapahos that have been missing and murdered. And a lot of the cases that have been reported to rural communities in Oklahoma, some of those law enforcement agencies don't enter the information into national databases. And so sometimes those cases are just sitting in, city law enforcement in a small town in Oklahoma, and they haven't been reported anywhere. So, trying to find out the accurate number of MMIP has been difficult. So we've had to revert to asking family in our tribe if they can self-report, and then we can, we've been trying to collect that data from families, because and hopefully in the future, as the OSBI does future trainings with law enforcement in Oklahoma, they can begin to kind of reach out and touch base on trying to collect that data from law enforcement that may not have been reported previously. So I know it's a lot.
Thank you, Lorinda. It is a lot.
It's a lot.
So I think Chair Avery, did you have a comment? Anything to add? I think the short answer is that prior to 2016, NamUs wouldn't, you couldn't report a missing person if there wasn't a crime attached to it or a suspicion of foul play. That has changed since then, but there's still a lot of efforts underway on a national level to collect data. And Lorenda, thank you. You pointed out a lot of those barriers that have existed and some that still do. As far as on the tribal level, that's up to each tribe out of sovereignty to determine what they collect, how they collect it, and if they want to share it and with whom. I don't know, Treasurer, if or Governor Wasana, if you had anything else to add to that question before we get to the next one. Okay, thank you, Lorenda. Thank you for educating and getting that change so we can have the opportunity to share if we want to report if we're American Indian Alaska Native. One is about ordering MMIP t-shirts. If you have a site where they can order directly from you put it in the answer or the comment section, that would be great. We don't have anything at the NIGC. What rules and practices are established in the gaming sector that can support missing and murdered Indigenous initiatives, and how were these programs developed and implemented? I don't know if this is specific to the gaming. I can share in a moment what we're doing, but I want to first defer. And I know we're at the top of the hour. If you want to stick around a little bit longer, we'll try to get through a few more questions. Anybody want to respond to this before I do? I don't see anybody going off mute.
Do you mind repeating the question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
What roles and practices are established in the gaming sector that can support missing and murdered Indigenous person initiatives? And how were these programs developed and implemented? I don't know if you know them specific to your gaming.
I believe with our particular casino entities, we do have within the casino operations. I know that we have people that are doing the trainings on human trafficking, and I believe that our employees have been trained, and if not, we'll make sure that that's something that will get them that information. But I'm pretty sure that it's we can only speak for ours, but I do know that I've spoke to some of the casino staff, and they have implemented some of that training. And I believe that most the casino employees and staff and leadership are aware of MMIP and the signs and how to report, and they're very cognizant of the activities around the tribe and around our casino facilities. So
thank you. That's fantastic.
At Salmon Well, we've dedicated resources within our public safety to do training for our team members. We dedicated time within January to during Human Trafficking Awareness Month to do training for our team members.
That's great too. Thank you. And at the NIGC, as you know, we have been working with tribal gaming regulators and operations, along with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, as a chair shared, Office of Justice Services, Department of Homeland Security, and with the Treasury. And we developed together in collaboration an online toolkit on combating human trafficking. And we developed then that into some training where our agencies have been very busy going to different gaming facilities to talk about what are the red flag indicators of human trafficking. The Bureau of Indian Affairs Missing and Murdered Unit talks about the missing and murdered portion of it, and how to respond, when to respond, and we talk about how to safely respond also. So we do have these resources. If you're interested in hearing more, reach out to your region director. Happy to share with you the work that we're doing and our resources that we have available. And then we have another question. Do any of the missing and murdered Indigenous women initiatives involve self-defense classes? Being able to defend yourself can be very empowering. Oh, from Amelia. Very good question. That isn't something that we do at our agency. I'm not sure if there's any in the communities. San Manuel, Cheyenne, and Arapahoe.
We have a series of trainings planned. We've done harassment, sexual harassment. We've done domestic violence, and we one of our missions is to provide education and awareness. And the self-defense has been one that's on our list, as well as some of the education that we put out in the community is also how to report. And I feel like, you know, Governor Wassernain and I have had this discussion about how we've gotten past this point to where the laws are established and laws are in place to help investigate the cases. But now it's time to, like, you know, for us as a chapter, as a MMIP chapter, we are turning back inward towards our community to try and empower them to be the advocates for their own families and to be advocates in the community. And that's something that we're trying to educate them about, is, you know, how to report to law enforcement. If you see something, whether it's, you know, domestic violence or something that, you know, a drunk driver, something that, you know, is not right, you know, that involves any kind of illegal activity or someone that has the potential to be harmed, you know, to take action, to report, because you could save someone's life. That's why he talked about prevention of MMIP. So right now we're kind of focusing on the prevention aspect of trying to look at ways to prevent MMIP in our communities and ways to protect our people, to protect our tribe, because as we know, you know, we're a tribe of about 15,000. So we really can't afford to lose any more people to MMIP. You know, for our tribe to continue to exist, we need to protect our people and protect our communities, protect our children, our elders. And then, you know, we just encourage our, you know, community to pray for one another and to be there and support one another. But I often say, you know, when we talk publicly to our communities, that everybody has the ability to be an advocate. Everybody has the ability to speak up and use their voice on behalf of their family member, on behalf of their neighbors, on their, you know, wherever they go, whether even if it's in or outside of our tribal communities, to use their voice. And so that's something that I hope that, you know, other tribes can, you know, also send that messaging out to help empower their people to speak up. And it doesn't have to be just MMIP. It can be domestic violence, or, like I said, any of these other things where someone may be harmed. You know, it's about taking action. So.
Well, thank you. We try to talk about see something, say something, and also how to say something and keep yourself safe and not put yourself in harm's way. So that's part of the training that we have. But we are out of time. We want to, I didn't know Governor Wasani or Treasurer Prieto, if you had anything else that you didn't have the opportunity to share, or Raven.
Yes, Jeannie. I just want to say thank you for your hosting this event, and congratulations to Sharon Avery for her appointment. And God bless all those law enforcement officers this week, whether you're security, BIA, or tribal police force. And you know, we always pray that you get home and your life isn't in jeopardy as well. But you know, since this is law enforcement time that we recognize, and we just want to say we hope everybody gets home safe to their family, and you know, just be positive, and God bless everyone.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And Chair Avery?
Well, just would like to thank everybody for joining us today and our speakers and for sharing their stories with us. And I think these are really important conversations to be had. And I'm particularly reassured by the efforts led by the youth and in both communities working with their state governments as well. And I just was really impressed, and I'm happy that the NIGC can be part of these conversations and share them virtually, because I think it reaches a broader audience. And if you want to look for further NIGC training information or materials, please check our website. And thank you, Vice Chair, for hosting, and I turn it back to you.
Thank you so much. And yes, congratulations again. I want to thank our presenters again. I'm so grateful for spending your time with us today, sharing the work that you're doing, and for the difference that you are making. For our audience, if you have any additional questions or want to learn more about the work of San Manuel and or Cheyenne and Arapaho, you can email NIGC at traininginfo@nigc.gov. I feel so blessed to work for an amazing team at the NIGC, where so many of our employees come from tribal gaming operations and tribal communities. Their experience, their dedication inspire me. And I also want to state that the message of today was how the tribal gaming industry protects our people and communities. So those of you who work in tribal gaming, whether it's on operations or regulatory, know that what you're doing is contributing to the success and protection of the communities that you work in. And so whether you're on the floor and you're the only friendly face that an elder might see that day, or a victim that's there under circumstances, you might be the only friendly face that treats them with love and respect and kindness. So what you do matters. Thank you for your dedicated work. Thank you again for joining us today, and we'll go ahead and end today's virtual session. Pidami Eshto.